It's time for a cup of coffee with Will and Chris at Slumberland Furniture. From Slumberland Furniture in Osage Beach, here are your hosts, William Holtz and Chris Schneider.
And I'm sure you're disappointed to see us this week without Nathan Bechtel from Lake Expo.
Man, is that dude he's like a male, what do they call those things, model, right? He's so pretty.
Yeah,
you know?
People saw the episode last week and they were like, man, Will really took that Hy-Vee healthier lifestyle seriously over the last week. He looks great. Well, it wasn't Will. That was Nathan from Lake Expo. We appreciate him. Did a great job. And he writes a lot of the stories for our show and definitely has a hand in them every week. So good to see him on this side of the camera, Nathan Bechtel. But that's right, Wild Will is back with Uncle Chris for another edition of Cup of Coffee right here at Slumberland Furniture. And this week, we're going to talk about some football. Not only former Missouri head coach Gary Pinkel inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame. Huge honor, but your Kansas City Chiefs, they're rolling. They're moving on, probably for just that last week. That might be their final win of the season, considering who they're playing this weekend. We'll talk about all that and a couple big local stories. But first, got to hear from our friends right here at Slumberland.
Hey everyone, Daryl Cunningham with Slumberland Furniture at the Lake. We have two big events happening this week. We have a polar vortex coming down. It's going to be cold, cold, cold. And the Chiefs are playing the Bills. All right, so come see us. Get into some comfortable furniture. Watch the game and be warm. Come see us at Slumberland Furniture at the Lake, where we're bringing happy home.
All right, so we are starting with what I consider to be the greatest college football coach of all time, Gary Pinkel.
Yeah.
Part of the 2022 College Football Hall of Fame induction class. How cool is that?
Yeah, and we had Gary Pinkel on our Community Spotlight show, just a great guy. He and his wife, Missy Martinette Pinkel, one of the power couples here in the Lake area. And Gary is a great football coach, but probably not even the greatest that he grew up with, because he played college ball with Nick Saban, the current coach at Alabama, with 7 national championships, right? But what a great honor. Pinkel gets selected to go into the College Football Hall of Fame, along with former Stanford quarterback Andrew Luck, right? And Rashawn Salam of Colorado. Wow. Remember him? He was a Heisman Trophy winner back in the 80s, I think. It's just a great class. What a great honor for Gary Pinkel. And I guess we're going to have him back on Lake TV to talk about this.
Yeah, and there was a lot of others outside of the ones you just mentioned. LeVar Arrington from Penn State. Champ Bailey, one of the greatest corners to ever play, not just with the Redskins, now the Washington football team, but also the Denver Broncos. Michael Crabtree, Texas Tech, was unbelievable. Didn't have the same NFL career he thought he might, but huge in college. And then, of course, a couple that you mentioned. 18 players overall, 3 coaches, incredible induction class. And for Coach Pinkel, the reason I consider him to be the greatest is because my first ever football game that I went to was in 2002. Yeah. It was November 9th, 2002. Missouri played Colorado, and that was his second year. Missouri really hadn't busted onto the scene yet, but that was the game Justin Gage broke the all-time Mizzou receiving yard mark, and he had 9 catches, 108 yards, and 2 touchdowns that day. My dad took me, and I fell in love with Mizzou football that day, and then would go on to get to see Coach Pinkel's career unfold. Many honors over his illustrious career. He was at Missouri from 2001 2015. He's the all-time winningest coach in the program's history. Record 191, 110, and 3 ties. Bowls, 7 bowl wins. He won a MAC championship in '95 with Toledo, 3 MAC West Division titles with Mizzou, 3 Big 12 North championships, and 2 SEC East Division championships in their first 2 years, 2013, 2014. He was a 2-time MAC Coach of the Year, 95, 97. He's in the Kent Athletic Hall of Fame, and he was the SEC Coach of the Year in 2014. And he really did put Missouri on the map. Yep. As far as not just the football program, But what he did at the University of Missouri allowed the University of Missouri to get accepted and welcomed into the SEC, which completely changed the dynamic of the state of Missouri. Did wonders for the basketball side, for the women's sports, and for everything else. And the cool thing is, I don't know the exact stat, but I'm going to try to get it close. At one point in time, Coach Pinkel was one of 3 coaches in college history that over the course of 10 years had like a 90% graduation rate, and they also had to hit a certain amount of community service, and then they would graduate and go on. And I'm telling you, Coach Pinkel cares so much about his players. And if you look at the NFL now, Mizzou players are all over the place. And that did not used to be the case. I remember when Justin Smith, who was an All-American defensive end linebacker at Mizzou, played for Cincinnati forever. He was awesome, right? Mm-hmm. He was one of the only Missouri players that was in the NFL. Now you look at every roster up and down, there's 2 or 3 Missouri guys minimum, a lot of guys making big plays, getting nods to go to Pro Bowls. That's because of what Coach Pinkel did, and so congratulations to my favorite. I idolized the guy forever. You know, I couldn't believe I got to meet him when I worked camp for him a few years back. I mean, a lot more than a few years back. And now with Lake TV, of course, you had him, like you said, on your show. We get to see him at all the LO Profile events, and just amazing. So huge congratulations to Coach Gary Pinkel and making Missouri Nation proud.
Well, and it's not a fluke. You know, I mean, he was the all-time winningest coach at 2 schools, at Toledo and Mizzou. And when he was still there, Mizzou was a power in the SEC. Yeah. I mean, look at the SEC now. They dominate college football. Well, they pretty much did when he was coaching too. And he went to the SEC championship game 2 years in a row. He really is a great coach.
Yeah, and if you'll remember that run in the Big 12, you had Chase Daniel and Jeremy Macklin and that crew of guys. Well, then you had Blaine Gabbert come in afterwards, and you had Brad Smith before that. Then you had Chase Daniel and Blaine Gabbert. And at the time, after Gabbert got drafted, Coach Pinkel was the only coach in the country that had his last 3 starting quarterbacks that got drafted and were playing in the NFL. And so I go on forever. Every time I get with Missy and I start telling her these things, she goes, "You know way more about him than I do."
Yeah.
You know, I'm telling you, he's special. So big congratulations to Coach Gary Pinkel, inducted into the Hall of Fame. That's pretty special.
Yeah,
you know, pretty
I
awesome.
laugh because every time I see you, when you see Coach Pinkel, he runs the other way.
Yeah, of course
he knows,
does.
Man, you're going to be there talking to him for the next 5 hours.
Trying to get autographs, trying to get selfies, saying, "Hey, let's call my grandpa. I told him we're buddies, please." That's awesome. All right, so big congrats to Coach Pinkel. On to our next local story now. Everybody knows COVID cases are up. Seems like everybody has it, has had it, or is going to have it, especially with this new variant. But with COVID cases up, looks like hospitalizations are actually down compared to this time last year.
Yeah, of course, everybody talking about Omicron, right? Mm-hmm. That's how you say it, Omicron. A year ago, most of the people, most of us know, had not gotten COVID. A few had, right? But now that's kind of opposite this year, where it seems like everybody has tested positive, gotten COVID or gotten the symptoms and stuff. And it seems like it's because of this Omicron. So locally, the increase in cases can be seen anecdotally. Businesses, a lot of people staying home sick, not feeling well. Healthcare, a lot of people, going in for healthcare checkups. Both of us, in the last couple of weeks have been feeling it, whatever it might be, and dealing with it. Lake Regional Health System has reintroduced heightened COVID procedures, 1 visitor per patient, unless there are a couple exceptions to that, pediatric patients, the kids, or maybe life situations where somebody's about ready to pass away. New mask requirement: medical masks must be worn by all visitors and staff. Cloth masks, gaiters, face shields, not allowed. This is over at the hospital now. Positive COVID inpatient numbers have been in the teens since December, according to Jennifer Betheram, Vice President Public Relations over there at the hospital. COVID positive inpatient number was 20 recently. So they're doing things differently at at Lake Regional. Camden County Health Department announced last week they had to temporarily close their offices just because so many people had tested positive or had various illnesses. School of the Osage Superintendent Laura Nelson wrote in a district update that COVID currently posing challenges for their district. the school district there. Camdenton School District, Tim Hadfield said that they're facing a small spike, but not a major spike over there. So kind of varies where things are. But it's a lot of it, too, I think, is just the time of the year. You know, when winter rolls around, people start getting colds and flus and different things like that. Statewide, more cases, fewer deaths. And again, we go back to the Omicron thing. It seems it's a more, from what we understand, it's a more spreadable variant of COVID, but it's a very mild, you know, which in my way of thinking is that's a good thing. You know, if you get that, you get really mild symptoms, then you get those antibodies, you know, that help you not get COVID anymore. And so that might be a good thing.
Yeah, and numbers compared to last year, definitely less deaths than we had a year ago, and many things you could speculate and say why. But regardless, if you haven't gotten it, you're probably going to. I would highly recommend trying to get your hands on some ivermectin, as well as some zinc, vitamin D, of course, your vitamin C and vitamin D. Also aspirin, which it's a weird mix. I'm not a doctor. I can't give you those exact numbers. But if you're not able to get ivermectin, quercetin is another one that you could double down and put with zinc that has a similar effect, but just boost that immune system, strengthen your system. That way, when it does come time to fight this, your body is ready, you know, and you can attack it head on.
And you did a Mic'd Up with William Holtz recently with a doctor, Dr. Jenny Powell, and she talks about a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
So if you haven't seen that yet, if you're wondering, you know, how do I deal with COVID? You know, what's the best way? Go back, you know, YouTube, Lake TV YouTube, watch the Mic'd Up with William Holtz, Dr. Jenny Powell, and she will tell you so many amazing things on everything about COVID, how to deal with it, how to prepare for it, stuff like that. And then I think you've got more coming up on Mic'd Up.
Yeah, I'm going to be sitting down with Dr. Bradley Jones, DO, here locally, and he's going to talk about some of the things that he encountered with the SSM clinic prior to their closing, his success using ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, and exactly what happened at SSM and maybe why they shut that clinic, because we're still unsure, no answers from them. You know, the clinic is closed. A lot of people without good doctors, a lot of doctors without jobs right now. Still no answer, still no reply from the powers that be at SSM. So we're going to sit down with DO Bradley Jones, and that will air late this month, early February on Lake TV. So be looking for that. But yeah, it's just crazy, and there's so much suppression of information right now.
There really is.
I mean, you really can't get credible information. For instance, the story we did, the live we did in front of SSM, had 308 shares, and if you look at all those shares, including people, massive followings, there's no interaction on those shares. And if you click on one of those people's page, just prior to that or just after that, they shared some stupid Etsy post or something that gets 70 likes and 18 comments, yet they share something and say, this is insane, must watch, they're killing people, gets no interaction, meaning it is being so censored and filtered out of the algorithms. But it's kind of what we expect at this point in time, right?
Yeah, it really is, and it's really sad, it's really scary for this country that there is so much censorship, and that what we like to call the medical industrial complex, you know, the powers with the money in the medical industry pretty much throwing their weight around to be able to do whatever they want to do and treat things the way they want to treat things, and not necessarily the right way, but the way maybe they make more money, right? Selling more drugs might not even be the best drug to deal with the situation, but it is kind of a really troubling, scary time in this country right now, the way things are, and with all of the censorship.
You know what's wild is you are starting to see a lot more promotion and people talking about ivermectin. I was at 4 different pharmacies over the last couple weeks talking. Only one of those 4 pharmacies that I talked with, whether on the phone or in person, could even get ivermectin. All 4 pharmacies said that it's a travesty. These pharmacists know that they should be making it, getting it, compounding it, and getting it out there, and their hands are being tied. They're not able to get it. I know one pharmacy in Lori has not been able to get it for over a year.
Wow.
And it's one of the most readily available. It's on the World Health Organization's list of top 10 essential drugs. It's incredibly cheap to get. and it's incredibly effective. It's been around for a long time, Nobel Peace Prize. We've talked about all those things, and you're starting to see that come to light a little more, and I guarantee you we are just starting to scratch the surface, because we feel like this is all political, and I'm pretty sure it is, but I think it goes way deeper than probably even you and I could imagine or envision. So it'll be crazy over the next couple of years to see what happens, what kind of side effects we might potentially see from some of these vaccines as, you know, the time they're in your body for longer. I mean, so many things are going to be figured out, and it's kind of scary, like you said, but I'm just thankful that all of us are good right now. Everybody's healthy, feeling decent, and we're back on cup of coffee.
Right.
Like normal,
we missed you last week, but, you know, but again, that's... I think that's normal in this day and age, especially in the winter. You're going to get sick. You know, it's just the best way of handling it.
Yeah.
You know?
No doubt. All right, so another cool thing that is happening locally. Now, we told you about Coach Gary Pinkel being inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame. Now, he resides down here at the Lake, so he is a Lake local, so we could celebrate that as a Lake community. But cool thing, for those of you visiting the Lake or down here, you ever think, Chris, man, and I know you're not a huge photo guy, but I want to find the right place to take family photos, engagement photos, picture of my car, picture whatever it would be. Studio T Images announces the launch of the best photo spot, and it's kind of like having a photographer friend to guide you. So they said this in their press release. Finding an ideal location to create memorable photos could be a great part of an adventure. A Missouri husband and wife team, Thomas and Michelle Kitchen, have taken the lead to enhance a process. Based in a magnificent tourist destination, of course here, Lake of the Ozarks, the Kitchen duo operates Studio T Images. It's a full-time photography studio, and they have a passion for sharing photo locations. So this best photo spot they just launched in January was created to help those visiting the area to be able to quickly identify a target location for their intended type of photography. Now, that's got an interactive map that allows visitors to sort locations by their interest. Things like Ha Ha Tonka, the Toll Bridge, state parks, public beach, Ozarks Amphitheater, all hashtag easy to find. You kind of get an idea looking through there what kind of photos you can get, and then they'll even tell you through the interactive map how to get there with the address. They've even got a favorite selfie spot. A lot of things on there. The site's ever growing and has the option for all photographers to share their best spots. Landscape, waterscape, portrait, automotive, selfie, something for everyone. Check out bestphotospot.com. You can post a picture and create a memory and keep shooting. Of course, big shout out Studio T Images. They put a lot of time into this, and it's pretty cool. I think it's going to be something that grows, and when you go on there, you can see all kinds of places around the lake that you've heard of, maybe haven't gotten to see visually, and those photos allow you to do that, so pretty cool.
Yeah, well, and you're pretty close with those people. I think they did all your wedding pictures and your baby pictures, you know, and all that stuff. So you know how good they are. They're good people over there, and
phenomenal.
It's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and just great people. Real quick story. One of my favorite things that the Kitchens have ever done. They've done a lot. Very selfless, very giving. Was a photographer had kind of, I was just going to say, screwed over a couple that had gotten married, and they had hired this photographer for their wedding. Well, they were very disappointed with not just the photos, but the communication. Well, long story short, they posted on Lake Area Happenings, and we're trying to hire somebody to come take some nice photos. Well, Tom and Michelle decided that because they had to go through this, they were going to do it for free. They set them up, got them great photos, and completely saved the day for this this newly married couple. And so that's the kind of people they are. Didn't make a dime off it, just wanted to do that because it was the right thing to do. So that's the kind of people they are. So Studio T Images launches Best Photo Spot. Go check them out online. So as the lake continues to grow, we're seeing people in from all over. You know, I saw an article that you had shared with me about U-Haul numbers were pulled, and people are leaving Illinois, they're leaving California, and a lot of people coming down to the lake. And if you look at what Ballparks National did in 2021, their first year, looked like based on that Facebook post, they had 11 or 12 states represented that brought people into the lake area for that facility. Pretty cool.
You know, and I was talking with Nathan last week about this new sports event center they're talking about building off of KK, and I asked him, I said, do you think there is a need for this? Do you think people will come? And he said, look at what's happened over at Ballpark National, right? You know, they build that, and And Lake TV was kind of a big part of that because we kind of time-lapsed the whole build over there, which is really cool at Ballpark National. But yeah, I think the last year they said they had teams from 11 states come to play here. Ballpark National already have 10 states coming so far in 2022. That's pretty huge. I mean, that's huge. And sometimes I think we forget because we live here, this is a huge destination. People want to come here from all over the Midwest, if not all over the nation, and when it comes to shootout, from all over the world.
Yeah, no doubt, and they've already got 10. I guarantee you they're going to get a lot more than that. This is early in the stages as far as planning for spring and summer and fall ball. So 10 states already, they're going to keep it going. And I know they're not even done with their plans out there, a lot of additional acreage that they could continue to develop and build out. So I'm excited to see what Jeff Vernetti and his team do because they do a great job out there and been a huge blessing for the Lake of the Ozarks.
Absolutely.
All right, sports times. We told you about Coach Pinkel, but how about the Kansas City Chiefs?
Yeah.
Big time win against the Steelers again.
Yeah.
They're headed to the divisional round. Pretty solid game for the Chiefs as a whole. As I look at the numbers here, Chris, 42-21 your score. Mahomes, 30 of 39, 404 yards, 5 touchdowns, a pick. Kelsey, he had a touchdown pass.
He had a touchdown pass.
Yeah, 1 for 1 with a touchdown pass. And the crazy thing is Patrick Mahomes, 5 touchdowns, came in a game time span of about 11 minutes and 10 seconds when he threw his first one in the second quarter to his 5th one in the third quarter. Off the game clock was about 11 minutes and 10 seconds to throw those 5 touchdowns.
They just exploded. I mean, it was an ugly first quarter. You know, I was watching that going, this is not pretty at all. Then they explode for those 5 touchdowns in 11 minutes. And then kind of in the fourth quarter, they went back into cruise mode. It's kind of hard to figure this Chiefs team out this year. I've kind of gotten the feeling with them most of the year where they can either be really good when they turn it on or kind of just, haphazard.
And so mediocre.
I actually think I haven't looked at the predictions for this weekend's games. But I think Buffalo is going to beat them this week. I really do. The Bills just annihilated the Patriots, maybe their best game ever, at least since their Super Bowl years. The thing is, they got to come into Kansas City and play in Kansas City, and that's always tough. That's going to be interesting.
We know all about that from week 5 this year. We walked into Kansas City and we walked all over them. Now that's a much different Kansas City team now. They were 2-2 going into that game. They were 2-3 off of that. But since that, they've lost just 2 games since week 5. And so they're definitely a different team now. But what I thought was impressive was holding the Steelers and Ben Roethlisberger's last career game to 257 total yards. Time of possession was dead even. I've never seen that. 30 minutes apiece. Kansas City actually had more turnovers than the Steelers did, but only 3 penalties the whole game for the Chiefs, which they've been plagued at times by penalties for 25 yards. And so impressive showing. One guy I think really came out of nowhere. You've seen him a couple games, but Jared McKinnon, you remember him?
Yeah.
With the Vikings?
Very impressive. Yeah, absolutely.
12 carries, 61 yards, and then he had 6 catches for 81 yards and a touchdown. I mean, he was a difference maker. There was a couple of those third downs early in the game, one of those screen passes, and then that 3rd and 2, they ran him outside that he ended up getting the first. I mean, those kind of things change the complexion, but I'm with Uncle Chris. I think my Bills are going to go into Arrowhead Sunday for that divisional game. That's going to be 5:30 in the divisional round at Arrowhead, the last game of the weekend. Winner will get the winner of Tennessee and Cincinnati. I'm going to take Cincinnati, believe it or not, at Tennessee. I think it's going to be Cincinnati and Buffalo in the AFC Championship game.
I haven't really figured out who I'm going to pick in that one, but I'm with you. Cincinnati's for real, man.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow is for real, and not so sold on Tennessee. They had some really ugly losses this year, but the weird thing is almost all of the really good teams, so did the Chiefs, Tennessee did. There were times the Rams really stunk. There were times this year the 49ers stunk.
Heck,
the 49ers
Buffalo lost to the Jaguars 9-6.
Unbelievable. So it's kind of a weird year with that stuff.
Right.
But so I just want to reiterate that I won the regular season picks. I am the champion.
Yeah. Regular season championship, but when it matters most and we're in the playoffs, we'll win a perfect 6 for 6 this week in the playoff games.
You rocked
so that
it, man.
was pretty good.
I went 5 for 6, but you're in the lead in the playoffs. And, we spanked Andy so bad. He just quit for the playoffs.
I think Andy and I actually tied 2 points behind you for second place.
I think it was like 4, wasn't it?
Yeah, you won by 70 if you
Exactly.
asked Uncle Chris.
Yep.
So that's the Chiefs, the big game Sunday night, 5:30. I'm not even going. Dad and I are too superstitious. And as I get older, I just don't enjoy driving 3 hours up there, fighting the crowds, being in the freezing cold with hypothermia, dealing with all the Chiefs fans around me if they happen to win, then having to get in the car, come home, probably, a little tipsy-whipsy, and then have to get up and come to work Monday morning. Sounds miserable.
Yeah.
I'll be at Mom and Dad sitting on the couch watching that game with my girls and my family as Buffalo heads back to the AFC Championship
I'm the same way. As I've gotten older, and over my career, I've had the great blessing of being able to go to a lot of games. And at some point, you just kind of get tired of going together, dealing with the traffic and travel and all that stuff. I'd just rather stay home, watch it on TV.
I'm with you, man. It's nice. You can pause it when you want. Drinks aren't as expensive. Food's not as expensive.
You know where the bathroom
Climate
is?
control, right. No line in the bathroom. It's tough to beat watching it at home on the 65-inch. All right, so as we look up or ahead to the weekend, not a lot of events going on this time of year, but one, the boat show is big in Overland Park on January 27th through the 30th. Reason it's big is because of inventory and the state of the marine industry. Mm-hmm. There's so few boat shows. Really, it's the greater Kansas City area's only show this year. That's the 27th through the 30th. That's the Lake of the Ozarks Marine Dealers Association's Overland Park Boat Show. Always a good one. Should be a ton of things to look at. A lot of people you can talk to for any of your water needs here at the lake. Of course, that's a cool show. I don't know if you've been to one of those boat shows. They're definitely a sight. If you're a boat person, you'll get just about anything your heart desires.
Yeah. Well, and it's kind of rare to just have a boat show now. They canceled all the in-water boat shows last fall and spring because of no inventory. Kind of the same thing right now. All the other boat shows have been canceled. This is about the only one going. So it's kind of cool if at least you get your fix of a boat show, get that in. And you know what? The boat folks here at the Lake of the Ozarks are the best.
Yeah.
By far. They just blow everybody away. So, if you're a boat person, you got to do that.
Yep, other events as well this weekend. You can check those out at funlake.com/events, or you can tune into my weekly Wild Will's weekly event rundown presented by Spouses Selling Houses Remax Lake of the Ozarks every Thursday through Saturday. That airs at 8:30, 1:30, and 8:30 throughout those 3 days. And of course on Lake TV, you got pretty cool guests right now on your community spotlight with the foster care and adoption.
Yeah, David Trammell from the Central Missouri Foster Care and Adoption Association. Really cool. He's got a great story. Grew up in New York. He grew up a foster care child and then was homeless after that. Kind of gives us his story so now he's working in the foster care adoption here in Missouri. Fascinating. You can check that out on the Spotlight Show every day at 9, 3, and 7.
Of course, high school basketball. We don't have a game for a while. We had a great one this week with the Roar and Osage, of course, but we don't have our next broadcast till the 4th of February as the Versailles Tigers go to Osage. But in the meantime, we got some great replays. There's some great games that are going to be on
Tuesdays and Fridays. So let's see, this Friday it's a replay of Salem and Eldon. Next Tuesday it's Lebanon and Osage. And then a week from Friday it's Aurora and Osage. So great games. You get to hear Wild Will play-by-play. It's greatness, man.
Before we go, I saw this banana covered in rhinestones, and I saw a story tied to it, so I wanted to read it. Now, you see that banana covered in rhinestones, and this was the message that was tied to it. We spend money and time at the nail salon getting a manicure and pedicure, the salon for hours getting our hair just the right color and cut, the department store stressing over clothes that fit our bodies just right, the spa getting facials and our eyelashes that make our appearances more flawless. Now, these aren't things that I do, obviously.
Okay.
But Sephora getting the perfect makeup to paint your face, but we say it's too expensive to take care of our inside. We stop after 30 days. We'll spend hours at Target and Marshall's, but say we can't spend time in the gym. We spend money on Amazon buying senseless things, but we say we can't afford our nutrition to make our bodies function better. We spend massive amounts of money on the outside, the external, yet we say we cannot afford to go to the gym, eat clean, cook at home, or give ourselves 60 days and an accountability challenge. But it's about your priorities. You only get one body. How long do you want it to last? You can rhinestone the peel of a rotten banana, but it's still a rotten banana. Truly taking care of the inside will show on the outside. So friends, this message is encouraging you to invest in your health. Trust me, illness costs way more than health. We'll end with that. Big shout out to Jill Ray and Daryl Cunningham with Slumberland. That's a wrap for Cup of Coffee with Wow Will and Uncle Chris.